Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Good morning, friends and viewers. I am Wasim Qureshi, Assistant Professor in English at Vishwakarma Government Engineering College. As you know that today we are going to discuss how to write effective letters. And for this session, I have used the book Active English for getting material and resources. Active English is published by Macmillan and authored by Almaz Juneja and Wasim Qureshi. Yes, I am Wasim Qureshi. And the book is a textbook for diploma engineering courses all over Gujarat, prescribed by Gujarat Technological University. This is the book. From this book, I have taken the material for letter writings. Now, we have to look at the PPTs. A word to say is important when you have to say a word. Now, when you have to deliver a word, it can be either in written mode or in oral form. But the important thing is that you have to have a word. And here we have a word which we can deliver by writing. Yes, we have to discuss letters. So first of all, we would like to discuss two types of letters. Basically, here there are two types. One is informal letter and second is formal letters. When you write a letter to your friends, to your relatives, to your parents, to your sons or daughters, or any informal invitations, these all letters are considered as informal letters. On the contrary, when you write a letter to some officers for some official matters, it is called a formal letter. Letter to inquiry, reply to inquiry, order letter, complaint letter, letter of adjustment, request letter, and not only this, sometimes sales letter. These all are formal letters. A good letter is seldom just written. It is always rewritten many times. Now this is also very important. When you want to write a good letter, it is not that a spark comes to you and you write a letter, but you write a letter, you rewrite a letter, you write the script of the letter. So in that way, your letter writing is not a writing once only. You write that letter many times, you edit it, you re-edit it, you design it, you restructure it, and by that way, after having a lot of pain and trouble, you can have a very good letter. So writing a letter is very easy, but writing a good letter is really very tough. But still, it requires an art. Nowadays, in the world of technology, people very seldom write letters. But still, we have faith in young generation who want to learn how to write an effective letter. Now, when you write or when you want to write a better letter writing, when you want to write a good letter, you have to consider these 7 C's. All C's are capital. The first one is clarity. The language and the content of the letter should be clear. The message should be clear when you use it in the letter. It should convey the message exactly what it has to be. So in that sense, letter writing is very important. The second thing is conciseness. Your letter, and basically when you write a formal letter, it should not be very long, it should not be very lengthy, but it should be concise. So the person who is going to receive your letter can read it, can understand, and can finish by the time. The third one is courtesy. Your letter should show courtesy. That is the a kind of respect which you give to your sender, which you give to your receiver. So courtesy is very important. The language should be courteous. You should believe in you attitude, and you win I win, that is also a dictum of a good relationship and a good conversation. You can use it. Then fourth C is correctness. The letter should be correct in its form, as well as it should be correct in the language. And when we talk about language, you have to take care of all the things like grammar, tenses, articles, prepositions, and many other grammatical items. When you type a letter, when it is in written form, even the spellings, they are also very important. Otherwise, they can convey a very different meanings. The fifth one is completeness. The letter should have complete sense. The message and content should be clear, and in that sense, it should be complete. The sixth one is consideration. You have to consider the language. It should be considerable in its length as well as in content. And then last one is coordination. You have to coordinate each and every paragraph with each other. You have to have coordination of each and every ideas which you are going to convey in that letter. So these 7 C's are very important for better letter writing. Then we cannot ignore any of them. So if there is no clarity, if there is no conciseness, if there is nothing like that, it will have a trouble. I mean, it will create a very negative or a loose impression of the letter. Then we have to go for essential parts of a letter. There are 10 essential parts, and first of all, we have to take the first part, that is sender's address. You are the sender, so basically you write your address at the left hand side. This is what we have a tradition in our country. Now apart from that, there may be different ways. Recipient can easily find out where to send a reply. When a person receives your letter, he or she knows who has sent that letter. After the sender's address, I mean your address, you have to skip a line between the address and the date. So the date would come after that. If it is a printed letter, and if there is a company, basically company letterhead is already showing the address of that company. Sometimes it may include email IDs, logo, URL, universal resource locator, that is we consider as web address. So these things can be added into sender's address. I can show you one piece of a letter which I brought for you. Yes, this is a letter sent by State Bank of India. It's a very big bank, as you know. That's why the address is given right of the paper, right of the letter. So you can see State Bank of India, Highway Road, Sanand, and the address, phone numbers, email IDs and website. These things are given. After the sender's address, we just come to second part, that is date. 25th June 2013 can be written in 4 different styles. In the very first line, you can see 25th June 2013. After June, there is no comma, and after 2013, there is no full stop. It is called open punctuation, and British style is following this kind of style. It is also called ordinal style, as the number comes in 25th way. In the second line, you can see after 25th June there is comma, and at the end of the date there is full stop. This is also called British style as well as ordinal style, but there is comma and full stop, that's why it is called closed punctuation. On the contrary, we have the third and fourth, June 25, 2013, where you cannot find comma as well as full stop, and month comes first and the date comes after that. That is an American style. It is open punctuation, that is also called cardinal style. The fourth one is June 25, 2013. There is comma and full stop. It is an American style, but it is closed punctuation with cardinal style. You know MS Word of Microsoft Office. When you write or type a letter using Microsoft Word, basically month comes first. It is called MMDDYY. Microsoft is an American company and they follow this American style of date. Whereas in India, when we write 1/4/2013, it means 1st April, because 1 which comes first, that is the date, and the second digit, that is 4, it indicates the number of month, that is April. So these are basic differences between two different types of dates. I mean, the date is the same, but the presentation of that date is different. One is British style and second is American style. After that, the very important part of a letter is inside address. The address of a person who is going to receive your letter. Now, once again, we have different types or different ways to represent the inside address. Here I just want to show you the address which is there. Lakshmi Nivas, 52 SR Road, Anand Nagar, Surat. Now you can see there is comma, full stop. That's why we call it closed punctuation. And the first line begins as it is, but the second line begins in a way that 52, the number, the digit 5 comes exactly below L, that is the first letter of the first line, and in that way it becomes a kind of a block. It is a kind of a frame, and that's why that is called block form. It is American style, right? So block form as well as closed punctuation, and it is also called American style. Now you can look at another address. At the left hand side, this is an address of mine given by that bank. Now P begins from the left hand margin, 1453/31 comes exactly under P, and then the third line begins exactly from the first letter of the second line, and in that way this is also block form. It is also called closed punctuation, and it is also called American style. Now the same address in block form as well as in American style, but here you can find open punctuation, because after Lakshmi Nivas there is no comma, after 52 there is no comma, after SR Road there is no comma, after Anand Nagar there is no comma, and after Surat there is no full stop. So when there is no full stop and commas, we call it open punctuation. The third way of giving address is in indented form, and this is basically very popular among Britishers. So you can see indent. Indent is a kind of a space which you give when you start a new line. In computers language we call tab, right? When I write Lakshmi Nivas, it's okay, but when I go to the second line, 52 SR Road, exactly under L I do not begin my second line. So 52 5 does not come exactly under L. So after my cursor goes to L, I'll give it a little tab in computers language. But when I write using my pen, I'll leave 5 spaces, and then I'll write 52 SR Road. Then again for the third line the same rule will be followed, and the fourth line will have in the same manner. So in that way, every line has one kind of a tab, that is called indent. It is called indented form. Here you can find commas and full stop, so it is closed punctuation. And this kind of this kind of format is used in the British people, so that is called British style. Then we have the fourth style. It is indented form with open punctuation, because there is no commas, there is no comma, there is no full stop, and it is also called British style. Very important point which you have to keep in your mind is, you should not write to with the inside address, because in your letter there may be two addresses. The first address, whether you write in the center, whether you write in the left, whether you write in the right, this is always an address of the sender. And when you focus on the second address, it is always an address of a recipient, it is always an address of a receiver. So in that way, you should not mention that this is the address where you are going to send the letter. It is already known, it is understood very easily. So you should not write to with the inside address. Then we have the fourth part of a letter, salutation. You cannot begin your letter just by using name. You cannot say Wasim Qureshi then comma. But who is Wasim Qureshi? So basically we have a respectful salutation for a person whom we are addressing to. So sir is a very common, very used and very formal salutation. You can use it for anybody. Dear sir, that is also called a formal salutation. Sir or sirs, there is an oblique. It is a formal salutation for a very big firm, because you don't know whether there is one person or many whom you are going to address. Then sir or madam, that is a formal salutation for a big when a receiver's gender is unknown. When you don't know whether the receiver is a male or a female, in that case you can write sir oblique madam. Mr. XYZ, if the name is known to you, if you know the name of the person, now if you know my name, so when you write a letter to me, you can write Mr. Wasim Qureshi then comma, it's okay. Dear director, if the name is not known, directly you address that person by his or her designation. So dear principal, dear director, only my dear sir. Now that only word indicates that it's very informal salutation. When a person is very close to you, when a person is very near and dear for you, then only you can use this kind of informal salutation. Otherwise, when you write an official formal letter, you should not use that salutation. Dear sir or madam, when a letter written to an unknown person. But my dear Ramesh, as I said, my dear friend, letter written to a person who the writer is close to. And skip a line between the salutation and the subject line. After the salutation, we will have a subject line. Now subject line is again very important. When a person receives a letter, instead of reading the entire letter, the person just looks at that subject line, and subject line emphasizes, or it gives us the message of the entire letter, and a person can relate it to very well. So in subject line, it makes very easy for the recipient to find out what the letter is about. And subject, SUB is a short form for subject. That is one example. Subject, SUB, then hyphen, our order number 1, 2, 3 for Wikiblitz. Now, when a receiver gets the letter and reads the subject line, that person can directly understand the entire conversation which has already happened, right? And that person can understand where this letter should go, exactly in which department or to which person. So in that sense, subject line is a very important line in any letter. Then skip a line between the subject line and the body of the letter. Now then comes body letter. Sometimes subject line can come above the salutation. So subject line comes first and then comes dear sir, and then the body of the letter begins. So both are acceptable formats. Now the heart of the letter is the body of the letter, and this body of the letter can be divided into three different parts. The one of them is opening paragraph or opening paragraphs. The reference and the context of the date and the subject of previous correspondence can be highlighted in the opening paragraphs. So as soon as the person receives the letter and starts reading the letter, in the very first paragraph, the person can relate it to the earlier correspondence, right? It will give us a kind of, a recap, a kind of a brief history of that conversation which has already been done earlier. It also gives us, intention of it, why the sender has written that letter. So when you read the first paragraph, it will obviously give you a kind of an intention, and it expresses the mood of the writer. It reflects the feelings of the writer, right? When a person gives you an intention, at the same time the person's mood or person's feelings can be identified by the reader. The middle paragraphs, they basically show the message or information regarding the subject. Now here there is in-depth description. It can be information, it can be request, it can be order, it can be anything, but it is the heart of the entire letter. It will give you the message, the entire message, complete message, as we have discussed, considerable message. It should be understandable, it should be concise, it should be clear in language, right? It should convey the exact the idea which the sender has in his mind. So it should be understandable in meaning, it should be in complete sense. Then we have the last paragraph. That is a paragraph which shows request. Usually at the end you would make a request. Sir, I request you to look into the matter, right? So that can be the end of a letter, and it will reflect that by that way you are just going to conclude the letter. So it's a kind of a concluding statement. Sometimes you can have hope that, sir, I hope that you would look into the matter. That is also a kind of request, hope. Sometimes it can have an appeal, sometimes you apologize. So these things should be in relation to the subject line and the intention of the letter writer. So the first paragraph and the last paragraph should be in a kind of correlation, right? It should not be with stereotyped phrases. Please ignore jargon language. Jargon, a language which is very typical. Without understanding of those language, without understanding of those phrases, you should not use them. It can create everlasting impression. This one, the last paragraph of your letter gives you everlasting impression, because at the end of the letter, when a person finishes it, he can have or she can have everlasting impression in his mind or her mind, and that will a kind of a boost for the person to do next actions. So all these three things, the first paragraph, that is also important. Middle paragraph, that is the heart of the letter. It will give you the complete message, content of the paragraph, content of the letter. And the last paragraph, that is in terms of a kind of request, it can be a kind of hope, right? So that also creates a wonderful impact. It should be everlasting thing for the receiver. Then we have complementary clause. It is called subscription. So when you finish your letter, you say goodbye, have a nice time, but at the same time you say yours faithfully, yours sincerely. Such kind of complimentaries are given at the end of the letter. This is courteous leave taking. One of the C's which we have discussed, that was courtesy. So here, without complimentary clause, without courteous leave taking, you should not complete your letter. You cannot end the letter with the last full stop and you just fold the paper and put it into envelope. But here you have to have that courtesy to leave the person by ending the letter with a courteous leave taking. It should agree to the salutation, right? We'll discuss it later on. So it should agree to the salutation. Your salutation is like dear friend, and when you write to a friend, at the end you can say your loving friend or yours lovingly. It's fine. There you don't have to say that yours faithfully, or you don't have to say that yours sincerely. So sincerity and faithfulness is not more important than being loving. Now there is one complementary clause which I have given to you in my slide. Find out error in the following: your, then there is apostrophe, then there is s, and then I have written faithfully, and at the end of it there is full stop. Can you give me the number of mistakes which I have done? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yes, there are 4 errors in these 2 words. Why should be capital? Because it comes in the beginning of a sentence. Then after your, there must not be apostrophe. So it should be like Y capital OURS without apostrophe. So the second mistake in this complementary clause is apostrophe. The third mistake or third error is F is capital. So F should be small because it is a part of the same line, right? Though it's a second word, it's not a first word of the second line. That's why F should be small. And at the end of it, there should be a comma instead of full stop, because after that you will write your name or you will write your designation below it. So yours faithfully should be written in this manner: Y capital OURS, there is no apostrophe, then faithfully F should be small, and then at the end of it there will be comma. These are some other examples. As we have discussed, yours faithfully. If you want to write faithfully first, you can do it. F should be capital. Now faithfully is the first word of that line, and F is the first letter of that first word. So F should be capital. Now here Y has become small because it is in the second word. Then there is comma. You can write yours sincerely, then comma. When you write sincerely first, it's sincerely yours. You can write yours lovingly. You can write lovingly. You can write lovingly yours. And you can write your loving friend. When at the end of your complementary clause, if there is noun like friend, employee, student, son, instead of yours, you have to write your. You cannot write yours loving friend. Here you can write, and you have to write your loving friend. If you don't know the name and the gender of the person you are writing to, it's better that you begin your letter with dear sir or dear madam or dear sir / madam, as we have discussed earlier. And when there is dear sir madam, it's better that you end your letter with yours faithfully. But if you know the name of the person you are writing to, you can begin with the name dear Mr. Joshi, and then you can end your letter with yours sincerely. Now after that complementary clause, the time comes for a signature. You can write your name or you can give your signature. Without a signature, letter is considered as incomplete. So you have to write your name, that is also considered as your signature. Above your name, sometimes you can sign literally if it is a printed paper and your signature is very important in that case. Sometimes in absence of an authority, some other person takes the responsibility to the signature. and that signature is called per pro, and in short it is called PP. Sometimes for is also written in place of PP. So if a clerk signs a letter in place of the manager, because manager has many tasks to do, so in certain letters instead of manager, that comes to the responsibility of a clerk who has to sign. So in that situation he will sign, but it is on behalf of it. So he'll sign with PP or he will sign with for. Now we have essential parts of a letter, and that is called postscript, that is PS. Many years back, when there were no typewriters and there were no computers, people would write letters, and at the end of that letter they suddenly remember something which is already missed out in the the earlier portion of the writing. So at the end of the letter they would indicate PS, postscript. You know about post and prepaid and postpaid, which are very common words now. So here there is postscript. Script is a kind of a writing, its meaning is writing. So a writing which comes after the letter, and sometimes when it is very important to highlight that importance after the letter, that PS was written. Nowadays in computers, when you can edit a letter many times, if you have completed your letter and if you want to add some lines somewhere in the middle of any of the paragraphs, it's very easy for you to do it. But still in this today's world, you can use PS when that sentence, that information, that appeal, that request is very important. When you want to highlight that importance, when you want to highlight its relevance, then you can use PS. It is to mention the things already forgotten in the main body of the letter. It is written at the end of the page after the complete letter, and in short it is mentioned as PS, postscript. The 10th one, that is postal instruction on the envelope. Now it is also called superscript. The following details are written on the envelope. So when you fold the paper into the envelope, basically you write the address of the addressee, and then there is sender's name and address, who has sent. Many times they write one line that if the letter is undelivered, please return it to so and so place. So return it to, that is the address and the name and that is the designation of the person who has sent it, right? And at the same time you have to mention the address of the recipient who is going to receive. If it is indicating a particular name, you have to mention it. If you don't know the name, you can write just a designation. It should have complete address because it's a mailing address, so it should reach a particular person, right? Sometimes you can have some attention line over that envelope. It can be confidential, it can be urgent, right? Sometimes you mention postal instructions, like it is through register AD, it is airmail, etc. When there is notices or a big circulation letters, it is very difficult to write the address of the recipient on each and every envelope. So instead of that, they use this kind of you can see this kind of window envelope. So exactly there is a window, that is transparent window, and when you fold a paper in such a way that your letter where you have the inside address, that can be reflected here, and along with that you can have a different things, State Bank of India, register AD, and there are so many other details, exactly which branch, and so many things are there. So these things are to be considered in in well advance when you prepare to write a letter. There are some occasional parts of a letter. One of them is attention line. It is not usually happen in all the letters, but if you intend to send the letter to a particular person, so this attention line shows immediate attention of a particular person or the entire department or a person from that department, right? So you can mention that department, or and you can mention that name of the person whom you exactly want to send the letter. And as soon as that institute, that company, that college receives the letter, after looking at that attention line, it has to be sent to that particular department or and to that particular person. After the inside address, basically this attention line is given. You can see the example. It can be written in short as A capital TTN, that is for attention, then colon Mr. G. A. Patel, he is the chief partner. So there may be many partners, but this letter should go to Mr. G. A. Patel, that is one of the partners. The second example is attention accounts department. So whoever, the responsible person in the accounts department, this letter should reach to that person. So you can have department name or a name of a person or a designation of a person exactly for the attention line. Then we have reference number. Now this reference number is very, very important when you have a long, conversation. So for identify a correspondence, you should have reference number and it should be kept in your register. So in future, when you want to see the content and the intention and the date of that particular letter, just by having that reference number, you can reach there very easily. It gives an idea to dispatch clerk while making a note in the inward and outward register. Now these are two examples. One is reference A-106/2012/12. So it can be A106, that is a particular way of maintaining this kind of reference numbers by that company. It can be understood that in 2012 this was a letter which was on 12 number, right? So when I open a register from 2012, I'll just go to number 12 where I can find the details about that letter. The second example is reference sales/2013/214. Here you can understand very easily that in a company there are so many departments. Now this letter refers to, or this letter stands for a department that is called sales department. And in sales department, when I go to find out the exact letter or its copy or its a detail, I have to check 2013 register. In that register, I have to go to 214, that is the number given to that letter. Exactly, opposite that, I can have all the details, when the letter was sent, to whom was the letter was sent, and why the letter was sent, what was the intention. Sometimes you can write the instruction regarding the mailing ways, how you have sent the letter, whether it was general AD or register AD or just by simple mail or speed mail, etc. Then we have enclosure. Enclosure is a kind of an attachment. When we'll discuss about the emails, we have attachments. Along with the body of your email, you attach another file. Here, with that letter, you attach many other things. When you send your resume, your biodata, your curriculum vitae, your application for a job, you attach many certificates. So those certificates should be attached along with your letter. But in the main form, in the main cover letter, you should indicate that along with this letter, there are many certificates. There are many things. If the letter contains the other documents other than the letter itself, your letter will indicate the word enclosure. Sometimes, instead of enclosure, we write ENCL, E capital and CL and full stop. That is the short form of enclosure. If there is more than one, you would type, right? So enclosure, into brackets there is a number, right? That number indicates how many documents, how many pieces of paper are added, are enclosed along with that letter. So sometimes you can indicate enclosed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can indicate, you can give the name of those 5 documents, or sometimes you can indicate enclosed 5 documents. Those 5 documents should be mentioned in the main body of the letter, right? Otherwise it can create a kind of confusion. Then we have the fourth occasional parts, that is called identification initials. At the end of the letter, almost at the end of the page, not even of the at the end of the page, it shows the name of persons who drafted and typed the letter. At the end of a letter, suppose you find RSP/MP. Here RSP may indicate Mr. R.S. Patel, right, who has drafted the letter, and Mr. M.K. Patel, who has typed the letter. So in a very big company, when there are so many people drafting and sending and typing letters, we can very easily identify person or persons responsible for a particular conversation or particular correspondence, and that's why it is called identification initials. Then we have carbon copy notation. It indicates the name of the person, department, office to whom the copy of the letter is to be dispatched. So at the end of it, at the end of the letter, sometimes CC2 or carbon copy 2 or only CC. CC stands for carbon copy. So along with you, I've sent the same letter to many other persons, right? So in that sense, you make the other people also aware about your conversation with the original recipient. Now this is the end of letter writing 1. When we'll discuss letter writing 2, we'll discuss about different styles and different formats of letter writing. A same letter can be taken in a different ways. Then we will discuss about some specimens. If you have to write an order, how can you write an order? If you write a request letter, how can you write a good request letter? If you want to write an inquiry letter, how can you write an inquiry letter? And then we'll discuss about some of the tips for better letter writing. If you want to improve your writing skills and basically letter writings, as we know that we are in the world of typing world, we don't have writing skills more. But even in this world, if you want to write complete, concise, correct, considerable, courteous letter, and we can call it an effective letter, there are so many tips in the second presentation, and we'll discuss about some abbreviations, right, which you can use in your letters. When you have to use certain words many times, sometimes you can use short forms, and those short forms are not but the abbreviations of them, so you can use them. In second presentation we'll discuss about it. So you can send your feedback about this video lecture to Wasim Qureshi, that is me, at wasim_Qureshi@yahoo.co.in. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.